We're starting a brand new season of F1 25 My Team Career Mode today. The year is 2029 in-game, and a lot has changed over the winter break. There was an R&D reset finally after 2 seasons of not having one that could shake up the pecking order. There have been 2 new manufacturers entering the sport in the form of Jaguar and Cadillac, and plenty of change up and down the order with all the teams when it comes to either their sponsorships, their engine partnerships, or their liveries, including our divorce from Porsche having won the Constructors' Championship but lost the Drivers' title to Lando Norris in the Mercedes. Porsche remain on the grid now with Williams. Cadillac purchased the slot from BMW, and we bring in Jaguar and the iconic British Racing Green back onto the F1 grid. All of these changes covered in the pre-season video, so go check that out if you haven't already to get all the lore and the context and story behind everything going into this new season. But as ever, it is our job as team principal to bring everything together for the start of a new season when, as usual, everything gets reset to 0. You dust yourself off, in our case, losing the driver's title. We did win the Constructors, so pretty happy about that, but having to dust ourselves off a bit and go again to try and get one of our, well, new drivers a title if we can, either Oscar Piastri or Andrea Kimi Antonelli. I mean, Antonelli, one of the drivers that got away from us that we didn't sign earlier in the series, so kind of happy that we've been able to come back to him and sign him eventually. It's a bit of a shame there are a couple of big names not on the grid and they're just floating around as free agents, including some big names, in relation to this team and the lore of this series, but we can't really do too much about that. We just have to press on and look forwards to the grid we do have. And what we do need to look at, first of all, in this episode, the first episode of the new season, is developing parts, because we actually lost out in the R&D reset. There were a bunch of aero upgrades that we didn't develop before the season ended. So that's brought us into a deficit compared to our rival teams. We've also, if you were watching the preseason video, we've got the Jaguar engine now, which is down on power, seemingly, compared to some of our rivals of Honda, Ferrari, and Mercedes. So that's also going to factor in. So we need to try as quickly as we can to get the aero back into a good frame, and then we can see what we can do when the car is near enough, basically fully maxed out. Obviously, maybe some durability upgrades still hanging up in the air, but ultimately trying to get as much done. So I was using the dual development, and also for the first time, actually, I was able to use the rush development as well, because we earned the rush development in the HQ facilities kind of after we maxed out the entire car, so we never really got to use that mechanic where you can get it done sooner but there's a higher chance of failure rate. So we implemented that for some of the aero upgrades. I'm going to see if we can get most of them done actually before the first race. So really looking at it, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're going to recover most of our performance before this first race. Probably won't sharpen the R&D chart until the second round of this season, because the R&D chart doesn't update until after you've done the race weekend where the upgrades come in. But yeah, kind of shows maybe, honestly, maybe in a future patch, they could go even more aggressive with how the R&D reset works. Because I still think it's so easily rectified, basically, within a round or two into the next season, even after they patched it to come later in the season. It's resetting. Obviously, at the start of the season, going through plenty of activity timeline, calendar bits to try and push the team where we can in terms of the, be it the driver focus, be it the engineering side, putting the morale up of the aero department so there are less failures. And I'm glad to say, pretty much apart from one upgrade, I think, we've got everything redeveloped on the aero side of things, but we won't know how we look versus everyone else until after Australia. So you can see the vehicle comparison there. It's a little bit misleading now because I don't think it takes into account maybe all the upgrades, or maybe it does, to be fair. I think maybe this one is meant to be updated live and then the R&D graph itself is not. So if this is real, then maybe our new Jaguar engine is so down on power that it's just going to permanently make it look like we're quite low in the pecking order. But realistically, we're all nearing maxed out cars apart from poor old Audi down there. So it's going to be a case, as it has been for the last season or two, track-to-track dependency, and then as ever, season to season, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion by now that there is definitely some just change that you just can't factor from season to season. We saw Ferrari with the awful battery issues. We had some horrid issues with the rear wing failures last season. Now that we've left Porsche and it's a new season, I'm really praying that won't be a problem for either of our two drivers that we're driving as this season, Piastri and Antonelli. And of course, it makes sense to drive as Piastri for the first race, being his home Grand Prix in Melbourne, Australia, and we'll have time for Antonelli's home race later down in the season at Monza. But loading into the race weekend for the first time with an all-new pairing, you know, because up till now, we've had Tramnits every single season. And I know a few of you were letting me know in the comments below you were sad to see Tramnits go. I feel like, you know, after 4 seasons, we had done him justice. You know, he's a one-time champion in this series. And in terms of the curiosity of how high he could grow overall rating, because of the way experience affects the rating in this game, it really wouldn't have been that exciting because he wasn't growing as quickly as he probably should have been. If you look at the performances we gave him, because of the experience and the way that stat affects the overall ratings. And I think you'll hopefully agree, a lineup of Piastri and Antonelli is a very tasty one in terms of like the new gen of Formula 1 drivers in the last couple of years. And, well, the first time going out in our green beauty, it is really nice to get a Jaguar Racing livery back on the F1 grid. And hopefully you guys will agree this kind of, you know, retro throwback to those early 2000s is a really, really nice look on a modern day F1 car. It just really works. Like, a lot of the time, sometimes these retro liveries don't really translate well to a modern F1 chassis. I think this one does very, very nicely. The only thing is, I might for a future episode update the green to be a little bit less metallic because it's a bit darker than I would have liked. But for now, we'll rock with this. And for now, we'll roll on back into the garage and get on to qualifying.
Hello everyone, it is time for qualifying at one of our very favourite stops on the calendar. It's Albert Park and we're about to take the cars right up to the edge.
A big, big unknown really, especially when it comes to how all the AI teams are going to perform. We know that we've done some good work to redevelop the aero parts, so we should be competitive, I'm hoping. But what that looks like in the pecking order, who knows? Who knows? Because we have no idea how the AI have done on redeveloping parts from when we loaded into the season till this race weekend. We saw the initial graph, which might have McLaren up there, but also might have the likes of Williams and Honda up there. Remember, Williams is Williams Porsche now, our old partner from last season. So that's going to be a bit of a sting to see our old partner maybe up there with a new team. But let's see how this first session goes. P7, first time of asking, but the track is getting quicker and quicker as the sun comes down here around Albert Park. We're down to 16th place. We need something better here, but you can see a lot of other interesting names also maybe needing to go again. Colapinto in his new Red Bull Ford in P14. Aaron in the purple-coloured Williams Porsche P15. He'll need to go again if he wants to get through into the second part of qualifying. For us, it's a 1.2 second improvement as track evolution is huge there. But look at the name and the team at the top of the timing sheets. Oh, you hate to see it from my perspective. You hate to see it. Our old partners, Porsche, now with Williams, looking very quick. Oh dear, with Sonoda. Oh, this really is going to be a battle, maybe, of who's winning the divorce here in Season 5, is it? I mean, Paul Aaron, unfortunately, didn't make it through, so Sonoda's done some heavy lifting there. Colapinto narrowly makes it through. It's the two Renaults, two Audis, and surprisingly, Bortoletto in the Aramco Honda, who's knocked out. I was, you know, counting on Honda maybe being up there with Williams, because we saw those two teams, kind of quote-unquote midfield teams, really punching above their weight last season and looking like they were trying to become a top team. It maybe seems like Williams and Porsche have done that together, but Honda, a little bit of a slip-up for their new driver, but it may just be a case of Bortoletto getting used to the car, and he's not up to scratch yet with his new wagon in white and red is Sonoda again pops in a good lap time. We come through the final sector with a bit of understeer there, and only P8 then behind Lawson ahead of Maloney in the Cadillac, who's the Cadillac team has been bought from the BMW Ashes, and they used to be Racing Bull, so that team has gone through their third iteration in the series. Will it be third time lucky for them? What can other teams do? Mercedes with Norris P14. He needs to go quicker. We need to go quicker. But into the last sector. Oh no! We've really had a mare into the second last corner in the same place. I've just realised that Piastri had a mistake in the IRL 2025 Australian Grand Prix. We have locked up really badly. The front left just would not rotate. Big puff of smoke. We've had to hit the reverse, and there's no time left. There's no time in this session. It's a disaster start to life here at Aarava Jaguar Racing for the Aussie, for the home favourite nonetheless, as we have to... Oh, it's painful watching so many cars go by. Oh, it's curtains. It's curtains. P15. Bad mistake for me. You know what that was, though? I was desperate to find the time to get into the top 10 shootout because we were sitting, I don't know if you realise, P15. And even though we were setting 2 purples, you can see in the top right, those purples were only good enough for 3 tenths gained. And as we load into the full results, Antonelli narrowly makes it in, so that's good for our teammate at least, our AI teammate, first time I'm asking, gets through, but 3 tenths would have only got us up to 10th place. So I think the purples were purple in relation to P11, I think, because otherwise that just didn't make any sense on the top right. But Sonoda again topping the session for Williams Porsche. Both BWT Haas cars are through. The pink Haas team is through, both of them. That's a shot. That's where I thought Honda would be, but Haas have taken that slot in the top 10 alongside McLaren, Red Bull, and a Ferrari looking pretty strong. Ocon in second place, Albon only a P11, but that's pretty promising for Ferrari after a real season to forget. They're right up there, and the reigning champion is embarrassed as well. He's out in P14, whereas his teammate P9, Carlos Sainz there. So very topsy-turvy Q2, very much in keeping with the season opener. You just never know what's going to happen. There are a few surprises always at the start of a new season for Formula 1, and there's been definitely a lot here. Let's go to the grid then. Let's see how the top 10 shootout panned out without yours truly.
Months of rumour and speculation all comes to an end today as we return to racing for the opening event of what promises to be an enthralling season. Welcome along then to round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position. And Yuki Tsunoda completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid we have Gasly, Colapinto, Andrea Kimi, Antonelli, and Ocon, Stroll, Sainz, Pepe Marti, and Nicola Solov, Albon, Lawson, Zay Maloney, and Norris, Piastri, Martins, Paul Aaron, and Jack Doohan, O'Sullivan, Bortoletto, Crawford, and Taylor Barnard completes the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Alongside us for this one is Naomi Schiff. Well, we have new customers on the grid. We're getting used to seeing them around in the paddock, but they've still got plenty to learn in this maiden season.
They absolutely are here to win. I mean, no one comes to a motor race expecting not to do that. But at the end of the day, they are new around here, so they've got to be realistic about what really faces them. They've got a mountain to climb of challenges. They've got so much to learn. So this is really about taking things one step at a time. But at the end of the day, I think everyone's always going to be concerned about what their reputation is. So good luck to them.
All right, let's have a quick radio check, please. Radio check.
Radio check.
Right, mate, I know it's your home Grand Prix, but I want you to treat it like any other race. Let's not make any unnecessary risks, please.
Wise words from Mark there for Oscar Piastri. For us, as we load into our first race, driving as the Australian, and unfortunately cracking a little bit in that qualifying session, maybe like he has been in real life recently. But let's try and get back to a bit of form. and kind of show what we've got with Piastri, with Antonelli. I still think a very, very exciting lineup, and we can do a lot of good work here in the season. Antonelli showing that there is some pace in that car. Qualified relatively high, actually, so, you know, Q2 was maybe a bit of a, you know, not a true showing, because it looked like he just about made it in, and then in Q3 was actually looking a lot more competitive, you know, up there, nearer to the Red Bull Fords, but ultimately it was the man, Max Verstappen, on pole position. How many times we'd praise him last season for dragging the McLaren up, but now you've got Lance Stroll in the top 10, and the McLaren, technically on paper, is the best team, you know, before the upgrades factor in, so maybe this is it. Is this the time for Verstappen and McLaren to fully lock in and shine, and to really be in the title fight from early doors? But on the front row, alongside him, is our old partner, Porsche, with Williams now. Piloted by Yuki Tsunoda. Really impressive, slightly annoying for us to look at, so that's going to be a very exciting prospect to see how that pans out, not only for this race but the entire season. But a lot of new changes, 2 new teams added to the grid, an R&D reset. It is all to play for here in 2029 in game for another season of F1 25 My Team Career Mode, as 22 drivers look at 5 little red lights, and they go out, and we're underway for another season of Formula One. It's a good start for us versus the reigning champion in the Mercedes. We're going to try and dive it down the inside of 2-3 cars, maybe. Couldn't quite get Albon. We are not even going to get the Honda as well. Verstappen leads, Tsunoda second, Gasly third, Antonelli trying to get up into P4, as we're now going to get the Honda of Liam Lawson on the inside. Catch him napping a little bit. Oi, oi, oi! Massive tank slapper for Albon in the Ferrari on the BWT Haas. That could have been a bit nasty, to be honest, because I thought there was going to be a bit of extra contact made there. So we've all just about survived lap 1 in one piece, but things are very nervy, it would seem, for some drivers there. The Ferrari more so than others, as Ocon is in 6th place now. Antonelli with a good start there, but couldn't quite get the Red Bull Ford of Franco Colapinto. Verstappen looking comfy in P1, but Tsunoda's there, giving the pressure, and crucially, the Japanese driver is on the soft compounded tyre compared to others around him on the medium. So are Williams and Porsche going for an aggressive 2-stop, I wonder? Are they confident about their tyre wear? Who knows right now? That's the exciting thing about a new season. You just can't really tell. And speaking of tyre wear, for us, obviously last season, it was well documented, apart from the rear wing issues, how bad the tyre wear was for our Porsche team. But now with a new partnership with Jaguar, all new car, new aero, new season, are things going to be different as we squeeze past the Haas with difficulty, really having to dip a tyre into the grass. The Haas probably would have a nosebleed. Hasn't been this high since maybe season 1 occasionally, but we get through into P11. But yeah, I'm hoping the tyre wear might swing back towards us and be a season where it's okay again, because generally speaking, you know, the characteristics do like to change season to season, and hopefully we're not hampered with tyre wear issues as much as we were last season, and maybe the aero changes could change that just slightly, or even the engine, you know, maybe the drivability of the engine, the package we've got, might change things in terms of the rear tyre wear with how the power's delivered, for example. As you see Gasly and Colapinto fighting each other and losing time to the top 2. So Red Bull, the new partnership of Gasly and Colapinto, they're going to need to work on that a little bit, because if they keep fighting like that, they'll never catch those 2 ahead, as we make another ballsy move, that same right-hander on Carlos Sainz. Didn't really mean to make that one, but we just gained on Sainz so much in the brake zone that we had to make the move, otherwise we were going to probably crash into him. And to that effect, he's looking very weak now, and Norris is on the back of him, so I suspect maybe Sainz struggling a bit, as that is Tsunoda making a brilliant overtake in one swoop on the outside, and the Williams Porsche leads the way. Oh dear, oh dear. Our old engine supplier partnering with a new team, leading the race. You hate to see it, you really do, but I'm sure you guys are loving that. Maybe sweet, sweet karma for dropping Porsche after only one season, but decisions had to be made, and some of them maybe out of my hands, with the board of directors overpowering your own team principle, as we've got Renault fighting Bortoletto, the 2 Audis at absolutely nowhere. Someone get them some help. I saw maybe in the comments there was some discussion about maybe doing some ballast adjustment for Audi to help them out a little bit. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below maybe if we should look into trying to level the field a little bit with Audi versus everyone else, because they just seem like they've got no chance in hell of doing anything anytime soon, is it, as an AI team? Anyway, though, going back to our fight then, we're catching up to the top 9. We're in the top 10 for the first time. Albon is next up in the Ferrari as we take a bit of curb and more on the inside, trying to get the turn in. Albon goes defensive. We've both got DRS. We go to the outside. We give him room to work with. He's hopped over the curb. We've had a bit of a loose rear end, and the Ferrari actually comes back at us, and Albon putting up a good fight and actually brake checks us in the middle of the corner, and all of a sudden Norris gets us. We've been duped by the Ferrari, and the reigning champ is through into 10th place. But you know what? That's actually quite promising. Let's just take a step back. For the first time in over a season, we've actually seen the Ferrari, for one, not blinking its ERS light as a AA battery harvests there, and actually a bit of a fight from the Scuderia. So maybe Ferrari, maybe they're somewhat back as Verstappen and Tsunoda swap once more. Verstappen leads. I suspect those two will be swapping a fair few times in this first stint, but McLaren's back in the lead as we now go again, and it's second time of asking. We do get Albon, but now we've got to repass Lando Norris in the Mercedes car. As you saw Otto, by the way, at the top end, the two Red Bulls still fighting each other and losing more time to each other. They're never going to learn, are they, in this first race, I don't think, at least, as we get past Lando Norris. Again, having to be quite aggressive in that section. The AI seemingly just squeezing like I'm not even there, having to dip a tyre into the grass to keep it going. And so let's see how we go against the second Haas. I mean, they've been flying pretty high, you know, both in the top 10. Marty here has been, done well to be in P8 for this long, but we are going to ruin the party, get up into 8th place. And now next up is actually our teammate, Kimi Antonelli. He's been overtaken then slowly by Lance Stroll, by Ocon in the Ferrari, and is at the tail end of the next little pack of cars. Very weirdly, my engineer asking me about coming in earlier, I refused because I think the tyres are feeling pretty all right, you know. The tyre wear numerically might be a bit high, but it's not feeling too awful right now. So we're going to carry on. I think we can do the one stop. I really do. I suppose the real question for the race win then is, what can Tsunoda do? Because he's on the soft, so surely has to be coming in, and it's going to be now. So time that quite well. He's in off the softs. That's got to be at least, well, if he goes into hards, maybe there's half a chance that they try a one-stop, just going a bit more aggressive in the first stint, which may have worked because they had track position there ahead of Verstappen. They're in, and it's a set of mediums then for the purple Williams Porsche outfit. So Tsunoda, I suspect that's a two-stop. That's got to be a two-stop, as Marty puts up a real great fight. The Haas stays ahead of the Mercedes car. So genuinely, where Marty is right now, I really thought one of the Honda cars would be, you know, Lawson, Bortoletto. But actually, I've only just realised Bortoletto, he's out. He's had a retirement early doors, so maybe the Honda team hampered with early season reliability issues, and they're going to have to do some work back at the factory to get that car back on a right path, because they were probably one of the hottest prospects last season as one of the outside teams of the big, you know, the big usual traditional four, making a mark for podiums late on in the season. So a bit of a shame for Bortoletto to start his new life having left Audi, joining Honda with a DNF, is on lap 11 then. A couple of laps down the road. We're still going on. You can see the icon on the bottom right is red there on the heads-up display, but we are pushing past Antonelli because Kimi seems to be struggling a little bit for his tyres and just general pace, but I'm feeling pretty comfy. Like I said earlier, numerically, maybe the tyre wear doesn't look great. Like, my rear left tyre is over 80%. But let me tell you, the feeling in the cockpit, night and day, does not feel like I've got 81% tyre wear. It feels fine. I'm not getting too many slides on the rear end, and we're actually able to send it on the inside from quite far back on Lance Stroll and make another overtake in this phase at the end of the stint up into P5. So I think what we're seeing here is maybe a bit of a difference with the drivability, the Jaguar engine, compared to what we had with Porsche last season, is even though maybe numerically the formula we have, the tyre, ever since that reset we had 2 seasons ago, maybe numerically it's meant to be pretty bad, but feeling-wise, this new car we've got this season isn't feeling near as bad as it did last season all the time. Like, constantly we were having pace issues at the end of stints and we would have to commit to an earlier 2-stop to make things work. But today, I think we're on for the 1-stop, and I'm hoping this will be a pattern for the rest of the season, that we can just try and aim for the 1-stop along with a lot of the AI teams, because even though the tyre wear has generally been higher for the last 2 seasons in this save of ours, the AI have been very stubborn and they always try the 1-stop when they can, even if it's maybe not the best thing for them. So it's good that our car could maybe feeling-wise be capable of allowing me to try and pull off 1-stops. Is Tsunoda ahead of the can? Oh no, he's got a damage. He's got damage. Replay. Tsunoda into turn 1 with Verstappen. Oh, the 2 effective race leaders have come together. Imagine my shock though. Verstappen making contact with someone for the race lead. Tsunoda's got half a front wing on. Oh, it's a nightmare for the Japanese driver. He's in the pits. He's in the pits. And now Williams Porsche staring at maybe 0 points with their lead man. I don't know where Aaron is, but we'll see where he ends up. That's unfortunate. So now, lap 16, Verstappen leads by a whopping 7.3 seconds. It really is early season vibes after a R&D set. Like, this is typical real-life Formula 1. After a rules reset, the first race, bit chaotic with how qualifying's gone. Bit chaotic with, the crashes, sussing out tyre wear. But one driver and team is able to capitalise a bit more than others in that first race, just because of how badly it's gone for others. And that's what Verstappen's done today. He's capitalising on Williams and Porsche's downfall. The Red Bulls needing to learn how to work together. They're just losing time fighting each other, basically, as teammates. So even though it's looking very, very dominant for Verstappen, I think, you should, look back at the last season, just see how competitive that was. It's not over for sure, and there'll be future races where I think other teams finally suss out their pace. And, where, for example, this man, that reigning champion, Lando Norris, susses out his pace because he was very, very quick last season. And here he is now having to fight through some slower cars to get up into P7. And look at this, Paul Aaron showing the Williams Porsche definitely has some pace about it. Side by side with Alexander Albon. It's a thrilling battle as Albon keeps his foot in the entire way and comes back at him. The Ferrari's back through into the last corner. That was an entire last sector. Williams Porsche versus Ferrari. Brilliant to see. Stroll now getting involved, nipping at the heels of Paul Aaron. So it really is a shame Tsunoda had that damage. Clearly the Williams is a great car this season and could be threatening for race wins in the future. But for now, it's maybe going to be a case of settling down for a Verstappen win and just seeing how the rest of the top 10 shakes out as Stroll gets up into 9th. Albon under pressure from Marty. Marty trying to make an overtake on a Ferrari for P10. I mean, you love to see it. You really do. You really do. The new BWT pink Haskar in full view in the season opener and giving it a good old go on the Ferrari for the last point in the season. Meanwhile, behind them, Maloney in the Cadillac, I can see, ahead of Lawson. So Maloney's doing a good job at keeping Lawson at bay as those two continue to squabble. It's actually a titanic battle between those two. But yeah, Maloney doing a good job in the new Cadillac team to keep Lawson at bay, even with DRS open there, and Sainz really struggling from the first stint down in 14th place, whereas his teammate is in P7. That was Mercedes' downfall last season. The only reason Mercedes didn't win the Constructors, maybe you could say last season, was because of Carlos Sainz's performance compared to Lando Norris, the man who won the championship, versus our two drivers of Leclerc and Tramnitz, who are both I assume sitting at home on a different time zone watching this opener in Melbourne as the home favourite with us in P4. Antonelli actually in P5. We haven't mentioned that. Antonelli's done well to jump Ocon in the pit stop phase and be in P5 there, but eventually lap 22 he drops down the order. You can see on the top left Ocon and Norris have got him. Barnard in a very slow Audi being lapped here. You just hate to see it. You honestly, you really do. They're the only team that's not really got anywhere near the pack. You know, Sauber, Kick, Audi, whatever you want to call them in this series. They've just never really been there. And oh no. Oh no. Oh, it goes from bad to worse for Yuki Tsunoda. And Williams and Porsche's new partnership goes up in disarray, at least for one of their cars, as the man on the front row is parking it up and retiring from the entire Grand Prix with only a handful of laps to go. And meanwhile, Verstappen 10 seconds clear. And I want to point out, I think that's more because Colapinto and Gasly, they have just been swapping every lap. They honestly need to work on that. As a team unit, they need to work better as a team. Otherwise, they'll just constantly take points off each other, and it'll allow someone like Verstappen just to walk away with it more often than not in future races. Because I don't think that McLaren and Verstappen are 10 seconds faster than the Red Bulls. They're just fighting so much, they're losing so much time with one another, as Maloney continues to be able to actually, you know, just soak up all the onslaught attacks from Lawson. Albon the same with the attacks from Marty. Antonelli unfortunately slips away below Norris and Ocon. And speaking of, Norris looking to make a move on the Ferrari, as you saw on the timing ladder. Again, Colapinto and Gasly swapping positions as Norris goes round the outside and gets the Ferrari. It's been a better showing from Ferrari, you've got to admit. A better showing from Ferrari, but they're still not, you know, right there challenging for the podiums, but it's a lot better than last season. And you know what? They can build on that. They can build on that with momentum, you know, races going their way. And clearly, I haven't seen their rain light flashing, so maybe they don't have an ERS issue anymore. As on to the last lap, it's been a very quiet second half of the race for me in P4. It's just because, to be fair, we've just done a very solid job of getting our head down as Verstappen is well on his way to winning the first race of Season 5. And on the last lap, no, it's a disaster maybe for Antonelli. No, Kimi. Aaron in the Porsche Williams overtakes Antonelli on the last lap. Verstappen is going to win it from Colapinto and Gasly. We will bring this home in P4, but that's something to work on. Antonelli's AI needs to work on that. He gets done by Aaron on the last lap. Fair play. It's a solid P4 for us.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Thanks to the Melbourne crowd. What a weekend. Cheers.
I think it's something to work on. It's a good foundation. A lot of learning, a lot of room for improvement with the drivability, etc. I'll take that as a first race.
Another one for the incredible career of Max Verstappen, who takes the win.
And to get a victory at the first race of the season, this might be a sign of things to come. One thing's for sure is that this performance will be giving the team and the driver relief and confidence going into the rest of the season.
Plenty to get stuck into afterwards, but now the podium for our top three drivers. Well, we've seen this one before. Max Verstappen on the top step once again.
Verstappen wins it in dominant fashion, but I think there's a lot more for this season to come. Clearly, Tsunoda taken out of things. I think the Red Bulls have a lot of potential if they stop fighting each other so much. And clearly, you know, from qualifying to the race, it was one of those typical opening races of a season where it's so chaotic that it maybe kind of masks what the true season might look like. And they're still going to take a few races to figure out that pattern, you know, of who's consistent and who's not. But it's a really great first race. I'll take it, you know, completely new engine, you know, didn't qualify too well. We recovered very well to a P4. Bit of a shame for Antonelli there at the end, but plenty to go up from and plenty to grow in terms of overall ratings for both Piastri and Antonelli. Guys, if you have enjoyed a chaotic season opener here in Melbourne, be sure to hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.